let's be honest, the PTE academic test can feel like this giant confusing maze. But what if you had a map? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to break down the entire exam piece by piece so you know exactly what's coming. Ready? Let's dive in. Okay, let's start with the big picture. 2 hours and 15 minutes, that's your total time from start to finish. Now that might sound a little intimidating, but trust me, once we break it down into smaller chunks, it's way more manageable. So what is this test really? At its core, yeah, it's a computer-based English exam, but it's so much more than that, isn't it? For you, it might be the key that unlocks that university program, that dream job, or a whole new life abroad. And that's exactly why understanding how it works is absolutely crucial. We're kicking things off with part 1, speaking and writing. And folks, I want you to think of this section as a marathon. It's the longest part of the test by far, and it's designed to really test your mental endurance. And I'm not kidding about that endurance part. You're looking at anywhere from 54 to 67 minutes for this one section alone. It really is a test of your stamina, making you switch between completely different skills all while the clock is ticking. So just look at the variety here. You'll start with a quick personal intro. It's unscored, so it's just a nice way to warm up. But then boom, you're thrown into a rapid-fire series of speaking tasks, from reading paragraphs out loud to describing complex images. And just when you get into a groove, you have to completely switch gears to writing. We're talking summaries and even a full-on essay. It is a serious mental workout. To give you a real taste of the pressure, picture this: a chart or a graph flashes on your screen. You get a few seconds to figure out what you're looking at, and then you have just 40 seconds to describe it clearly and accurately. That's the kind of on-the-spot thinking this test demands. But then, the pace just completely shifts. You'll get an essay prompt, and suddenly you have 20 whole minutes to plan, write, and review a structured academic essay. See what I mean? You're going from a quick sprint to a long distance run, all inside the same section. That's the marathon. Okay, so you've survived the marathon of part 1. What's next? Well, now it's time for a sprint. We're moving on to part 2, the reading section. And if the first part was all about endurance, this one is all about speed and focus. Yeah, you heard that right. The entire reading section is just 29 to 30 minutes long. That's why we call it a sprint. It's fast, it's intense, and it demands your undivided attention from the second it starts. And in this short time, you'll be tackling 5 different types of questions. You'll be doing everything from filling in blanks and juggling multiple choice answers to literally putting jumbled paragraphs back in the right order. It's a real test of how quickly you can read, understand, and analyze written text. Now here is the absolute most important thing you need to know about the reading section. There's only one timer for the whole thing. That means you are your own timekeeper. If you get stuck on a tricky question, you have to make the call to move on, or you risk not having enough time for the questions at the end. Time management is everything here. Alright, you're on the home stretch. We've arrived at the final section, part 3, the listening challenge. This is where you have to prove you can keep up and understand English as it's spoken, sometimes pretty quickly. This last part will take you somewhere between 30 and 43 minutes. And the whole thing is based on a series of different audio and video clips that you'll be listening to. Now listen closely, because if there is one single golden rule you need to burn into your memory for this section, it is this: you hear each clip only once. That's right. No replays, no wait, can you say that again? You get one shot, and one shot only to catch what's being said. This is why focused, active listening isn't just a good idea here, it's essential. So, we've walked through the whole test, the marathon, the sprint, and the challenge. But before we get to our final takeaways, there is one last really crucial rule you need to know about test day itself. Get this, there are no scheduled breaks during the PTE academic. Once that clock starts, it does not stop until the very end. So you need to be prepared mentally and physically for 2 hours and 15 minutes of solid focused work. Okay, let's boil it all down. What are the 3 absolute must-knows? First, remember part 1 is a marathon of mixed skills. You gotta pace yourself. Second, in the reading section, you're the timekeeper. Manage every minute carefully. And third, for the listening section, listen like your score depends on it, because it does. There are no replays, so there you have it. You've got the map, you know the layout, you know the challenges, you know the rules of the road. The only question left is, how are you going to prepare for the journey? What's your first step?